All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session, Not Just for Customers. Use Pardot to revolutionize new hire onboarding. We all know the power of email campaigns to customize a B2B customer journey, but have you ever thought about using Engagement Studio for your internal customers, your users? We are going to share a use case with you today from Woodruff Sawyer and how we were able to leverage Pardot to provide an exceptional new hire onboarding experience. First things first, we're going to take a moment to introduce ourselves. My name is Kate Lessard, and I am the Senior Manager of Sales Operations at Woodruff Sawyer. My team really heavily supports our sales team at our organization, and so we're always looking for new ways to drive efficiency and build a self-sufficient user base through automation. We are also really passionate about building a great user experience, so we're constantly looking for ways to provide a top-notch user interface and make life easier for our sales team. I stay active in the Salesforce community as a Trailblazer mentor, a Salesforce certification subject matter expert, and I've also led a community group, Trailblazer community group, for the last 3.5 years. When I am not in the cloud, I love yoga, and I'm actually a certified yoga teacher, and hiking with my husband and our 2 dogs. My team works really closely with the marketing team at Woodruff Sawyer, and we loved collaborating with Heidi on this project. So with that, I'll turn it over to Heidi to introduce herself. I'm not sure if she was able to join the broadcast yet. Maybe not, so I will go ahead and introduce her. Heidi Hodges is our Senior Marketing and Communications Manager at Woodruff Sawyer. She has been with the company for about 15 years, and in that time, she's launched a variety of marketing initiatives, including events, blogs, marketing automation, and social media. She leads our firm's email marketing, social media, digital demand generation activities, and of course, all things Pardot. She is a certified Pardot specialist, and she is our in-house B2B marketing expert. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my slides being a little bit sticky today. So forgive me for taking a little bit of time as I try to navigate going to the next slide. We are going to move pretty quickly today through the session because we want to ensure that we have time for your questions at the end. If you think of anything as we're talking, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A or into the chat box, and we will go ahead and address those at the end. I'm going to start us off by introducing our business problem, as well as talking about what a training path used to look like before we launched this email campaign. And then I'm going to pass it over to Heidi to actually dive into what this looks like now, what our email campaign looks like, what the Pardot magic is. She will also share some initial user feedback and then dive into some other possible internal use cases. It's been really interesting because onboarding is a really universal sample of what you could use an internal B2B engagement campaign to accomplish. But the more that we've worked on this and refined it, the more we have ideas about other ways that we could leverage an Engagement Studio for internal use cases. So we'll cover a couple of those, and you can also feel free to drop any ideas that you have into the chat as we get into that, because we're really excited to collaborate with all of you today and hear what you have to say about that. So with that, I will go ahead and dive into our business problem. When I started at Woodruff Sawyer, which was about 2.5 years ago, we were still in the process of ramping up our Salesforce usage. So we had a bit more time than we do today to provide individual training to our new users. We offered a lot of hand-holding, and we're able to bring a dedicated training specialist onto our team, which has been a fantastic addition. Kelly, our training specialist, would host a series of 3 trainings for each new user. One would be a dedicated Salesforce training. Another would be to help them represent themselves in Woodruff Sawyer on LinkedIn. And then she would offer a third training that would cover any of our other sales ops products that we use, which are typically products that integrate with Salesforce. So a lot of it goes hand in hand together. But what we found was that this was a lot of information. It was taking a lot of time for her to onboard new employees. And not only that, but she was also helping out our existing employees because, as mentioned, we were really ramping up our Salesforce usage. And so there was a lot of hand-holding for the employees that already were at Woodruff Sawyer as we started to make changes to make the user interface better and make Salesforce an easier experience for everyone. So our training specialist, Kelly, that I mentioned, has created a huge library of content over the past couple of years. She's created content not only for those new users, but also for the existing users to make sure everyone has access to training and is up to date on the most frequent tasks that they accomplish in our CRM. Despite all the trainings that she was doing, we found that users were not onboarding as quickly as we needed them to. We also were getting feedback from our users that they felt really overwhelmed. They felt that they were getting too much information in a really short amount of time, and they weren't retaining it because they were taking these 3 training sessions, trying to cram everything in, remember it, and it was just not working for them. So this resulted in a lot of requests for one-on-one time with our training specialist, and it also resulted in additional cases being submitted to our Salesforce admin, requesting help and resources and additional Salesforce requests. We are a really small team, and as we entered a major growth cycle for the company, we found that we were struggling to keep up with this demand. And I will also say that 2020, having our entire workforce go to a remote work environment, it exacerbated the issue even farther, and we found ourselves stretched really thin. So it was time to get creative. Kelly and I organized a plan to operationalize our onboarding, and we crafted bite-sized trainings to follow up on an additional onboarding meeting, which was a kind of an initial training session, because we wanted to keep that dedicated in-person, this year virtual, training support because it's essential to our culture and how we collaborate and communicate with each other. But now the user understands that that isn't the training that is their whole training. It is the foundation of what they're going to receive and the kind of first step in their onboarding experience. So these bite-sized trainings that we've built out into our email campaign build in complexity, and each week they add on to what was learned in the week prior. So Heidi will walk through the ins and outs of what this looks like in a little bit, but essentially once a new user gets started and is created as a Salesforce user, they enter the campaign, and then that's when the Pardot magic begins. This email campaign also gives us the opportunity to centralize our training materials and bring an easy to access training library right into our users' inboxes. And other benefits include placing the scheduling power in the hands of our users. They can just click a link, select a time that works for them, and then they move on in the email campaign. We added quick surveys to the emails, and now they have a quicker and much easier way to gather feedback and implement any changes. And then above all, we're able to provide a personal and professional onboarding experience, which affirms my team's passion for providing an exceptional user experience. We're now able to take what we do for them in the platform and translate that into how we onboard them. So it's a seamless experience of what it's going to look like working with their sales ops team moving forward. So I mentioned the benefit of having an easy to access training library right in the user's inboxes. And I wanted to give you a quick glimpse of what that really means before we dive into the email campaign. We wanted to be really mindful of the fact that people learn in different ways, and they also retain knowledge in different ways. So our emails often contain a variety of different ways to digest the information. You'll see on here we have a screenshot from a short video, and that is Kelly, our awesome training specialist, in the corner. This is probably the most popular thing that we do. The videos are always under 3 minutes. They're short, they're easy to digest, and It's been a really great way to add those into our email campaign. We also offer step-by-step tutorials in Salesforce where they can literally log in, follow along, and by the end of the steps, they've accomplished what they've set out to do. And then we do offer the opportunity, of course, to actually read about any changes or anything's going on, but I'd say that's probably the least popular training option that we offer. We always offer the opportunity to book one-on-one time with Kelly or join her for office hours if our users really are craving that personal attention. But we've been really pleasantly surprised to find that the majority of our users really do want to be self-sufficient, and they want to figure this out on their own and use the materials that we're providing them. So I know by now you are dying to see what this actually looks like. So in a moment, I'll turn it over to Heidi to actually dive into the campaign and talk about the different training paths that we offer. But I wanted to take a moment to highlight the time savings that this has brought my team, and specifically our training specialist. Prior to launching this email campaign, Kelly was spending an average of 5.75 hours training a new hire. That might not seem like much, but this equates to about 20% of her workload each month. So not only has this provided a great experience for our internal customers, but it is a major driver of efficiency for our sales ops team and has freed up a considerable amount of bandwidth. So with that, I will turn it over to Heidi for the fun part. Let me just stop sharing my screen. Take it away, Heidi.
All right. Can you hear and see me? Can you hear me? Kate, can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can hear you. I cannot see you.
Okay. Let's try this. Can you see slides? Can you see slides, or can you hear me now?
I do not see slides.
Okay, but you can hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, you know what? We'll go with this. Thank you, Kate, and apologies for my scratchy voice today. Kate spoke about the challenges of onboarding users when it involves such a large amount of training content. Well, there was an additional challenge in that we have not one, but two categories of users that needed onboarding, each requiring divergent content, different formats, and varied learning styles. The first category was for people who needed to be onboarded to Salesforce only. The second category was for those who needed to be onboarded to Salesforce plus the additional products we support. The differences between the two went well beyond just training on an additional software platform. There were entirely different processes, expectations, and communications. Pardot was the ideal solution to this challenge in that we were able to set up two paths within Engagement Studio. We started with the first sales user path and were able to duplicate content and automations that were the same and make changes where the paths differed. This was important because by basing both sales users' onboarding journey off the same Engagement Studio campaign, we maintained the structural integrity between the two paths. So although there were differences in content between the two user groups, we maintained the same process, regularity, and cadence in how communications were released and when trainings were held. And let me tell you, without the structure that Engagement Studio provides, it would have been near impossible to keep the two groups being onboarded on the same timeline and path. Now, this is where I would show you what it looks like, but we'll have to use our imagination since visual isn't working. So in our first email, in general, we wanted to go with a clear, straightforward structure of communications and automations. When envisioning what this initiative would look like, it was extremely important to us that the Pardot automation would enhance the experience for the sales user, but never be a barrier to human contact. So in our first email, it was important to us that the sales user's first touch point would be an introduction to the sales ops team. We were confident that the most effective experience would be a combination between automation and personal touch. In the first email, the user learned who they would be working with, what they could expect, and the beginning steps to setting up their Salesforce account. The next email they would receive, the Salesforce user would receive the first of the training content, information on optimizing their LinkedIn profile, templates that they can use, and importantly, the opportunity to book a training with Kelly for their LinkedIn profile makeover. Now, here's where the Pardot magic really kicks in. The Calendly link that is included in Kelly's email allows the sales user to book the LinkedIn profile makeover session, which is actually also a custom redirect link, which you all may be familiar with. The user's action or inaction is the trigger that will determine their direction on the path. If they book a time for their training, they will advance to travel through a series of training videos on different aspects of Salesforce. If they do not, the automation will kick in and they will receive an email 2 days later with a friendly reminder to book a training. This type of process repeats itself throughout their journey. It is a clear and uncomplicated structure, but an extremely powerful one. It allows flexibility for the sales user while simultaneously eliminating the need for Kelly to spend energy tracking the status of the training and sending follow-up emails. The tracking functionality in Pardot has been a huge win for us. We can see where the user is at any point in the process, what they still need to do, and any potential sticking points where they may need extra help. Next along the line is the would be email number 4, which is another aspect, which is the key really to our ongoing success is after the in-person training, the user would receive regular emails over 4 weeks with short, bite-sized refresher videos on the topics that they had been trained on. Given the vast amount of content and the complexity of Salesforce, our sales ops team was spending a lot of time revisiting and retraining on the same topics. These regularly spaced out refresher videos made a significant difference in knowledge retention and a decrease in duplicate training requests. Now, ours is a very straightforward automation, but you can do a lot, even more with the complex completion actions. So I decided to create one. Now, in my case, I created a situation in which it was an event series that we would want people and our company to be able to go through. And in this case, we're going to say it's mandatory. So what you would do is you would set up, again, an email with the custom redirect that notifies people that notifies them of the event, and within 5 days that they would need to watch it. And again, if they do, then they will move along the process. If they do not, they will receive, again, the friendly reminder to do so. But here's where it gets different. When they move on the process and have been able to watch the video, they can add on the completion action to notify a user that they went ahead and did it. We can tag them so that they will know that, for example, if their manager wanted to know where they are in the process, we can have the list tagged of everybody who's gone through it. We can add scores to them, and it is almost unlimited what we can do when we're using completion actions within. But, new hire onboarding isn't the only thing that you can use Pardot for. right now, I'm looking at using it for something called Better Know a Practice. And what that includes is that it would be, within, for example, if you had a sales department and you wanted them to be able to know what other prospects do, perhaps for cross-practice selling, you could, again, in this similar way that I just spoke about, you can have them go through a process of videos learning about all of the other areas. You can also have people learn about products, continuing education, company events, and a whole wide variety of HR functions. So I would recommend to you to really get creative within your company to find out, think about what you can do to use anything that requires automation, anything that requires ongoing communications. Pardot is an excellent opportunity to do that. So the end result of using Pardot in our onboarding process has really been a highly efficient experience that combines the power of automation without compromising the opportunity for human touch. And we've received excellent feedback on that. So move forward here. I challenge you to consider Pardot not just as a marketing and email automation tool, but as a business tool, both internally and with clients. And now I'd like to open the virtual floor to either myself or Kate.
All right, we've had a couple questions come in and I've been trying to answer them in the chat because I know we're coming up on time here. But if there are any others that would like to get entered into either the Q&A or the chat, we would be happy to go ahead and answer those. And Heidi, just in case you missed it, one of the questions that we had was asking if we use this to train new hires on non-Pardot and Salesforce topics such as company policy, department rules, etc. And I said that that was exactly what we were talking about with the other internal use case scenarios that we're really contemplating, and that are, the possibilities are endless.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, please feel free. We'll be in here for a little while longer, but I'll direct your attention to the last slide, which is reminding you about the ParDreamin Transform and Be with the Power of Platform keynote tomorrow, 1:10 p.m. Eastern on the main stage. We have a couple other sessions that are coming up that are highlighted here. And please, 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 take your Pardot strategy, technical and creative skills to the next level. Join Sir Conte for some additional trainings in 2021. So please check out their Pardot training options there. Thank you so much for having us today. It's such a pleasure to be part of ParDreamin 2020. And you know where to find us if any other questions come up.
Thanks, everyone.